Mr. Mayor.
Afternoon, councillors, staff and the public gallery. It's gone 4:30, so we'll kick our meeting off. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we meet on today and humbly pay my respects to the elders, past and present. Housekeeping, if you're asked to evacuate, we exit via the twin doors to the chambers and turn right and exit the doors onto the footpath and await further instructions. Livestream, this meeting is being streamed live and recorded and made publicly available on Council's website. Persons attending or speaking in public forum should refrain from making defamatory statements. Public forum, we have no speakers in public forum today. Statement of ethical obligations, taken as read. It brings me to attendances and apologies. Now, I have a request from Councillor Flannery to be sent a Zoom link as due to truck movements on his property. He will be running late, but he would like a Zoom link until he arrives. So I would ask that Council take that into consideration and agree to have that happen. And if you just bear with me 2 seconds, I've got another message that might put some more information on the table. I will be there shortly. So Councillor Flannery, I don't know about the Zoom link now. We'll be here shortly. Things may have changed. We'll leave it like that. He'll be here. He'll be late. I've had no other apologies.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did receive a message from Councillor Stadmiller that he was going to have there was a medical event, but it wasn't clear whether or not he was asking for an apology or not. So I think we just should note that was stated. But
We haven't received an apology?
No.
No, thank you. Councillor Flannery, I just mentioned that you were running late and I got a message saying you'll be there shortly, but it looks like you're not and you're on Zoom. So for that reason, I'd ask councillors due to business commitments and what's happened with Councillor Flannery to agree for him to attend by Zoom. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's unanimous. Welcome, Councillor Flannery.
Thank you.
And we do realise that
Thank you.
things go wrong at the last moment, so thank you for at least attending via Zoom. The next item on the agenda is the expressions of sympathy. I would ask everyone to be upstanding, please. We'll share a moment's silence for the following: Murray Brown, Kathleen Murphy, Colin Smith, John Crichton, Lynette McAllister, John Borland, Robert Clark, Beverly Dorman, Michael McInerney, Christine Pennell, Lucy Nolan Kemp, Judith Curtis, Barbara Sell, Carol Thomas, Margaret Gray, Philip Burke, Lionel Dare, and Janet Liddell.
They just asked me.
Thank you, everyone. Just another piece of housekeeping before I forget, and I take it that we all understand that our phones are turned on silent, please. The next item on the agenda, councillors, is the confirmation of minutes from our ordinary council meeting in May. Moved Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Dodd. Thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes us over to item 7, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest for tonight's business paper? I'll take that as a no. Mayoral minute. Well, there is a mayoral minute tonight, councillors, that I'd like to put to you, and it's there as it reads, that all proceeds from the sale of Hilltops Council-owned properties be restricted to be spent within the form of pre-amalgamation council boundaries. And there's a little summary there that speaks of it all. This has always been acknowledged by council, it's just never actually been put into writing, previous councils. And given the feedback I've had from communities in Young, Boorowa and Harden since the announcements of the sale of a couple of the assets that we're selling, and their concerns about where the money would end up, and some people from Boorowa contacted me and worried about assets that may be coming up for sale there and being spent somewhere else, and I assured them that that's not the case at all. And so just to make sure and to let the general public know that it's actually in writing, I thought it appropriate that I move this mayoral minute, and I would be asking for your support in regards to it. On that note, would anyone like to speak against it? It's very pleasing. In that case, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Councillor Flannery? All those in favour?
He's frozen at the moment.
He's gone. He's frozen. We'll bring that. How are we going with technology? Yeah. Councillor Flannery, we just voted on the mayoral minute that was unanimous bar yourself. You were frozen in time. So are you for or against?
Yes, I didn't know if it was your technology. I was for. Yeah, I wasn't too sure if it was my technology or not.
Yeah, okay. So that's unanimous. Thank you, councillors, for that. The next item on the agenda is the mayoral report. The diary there. There's one thing I'd add that occurred this morning, and it was very enjoyable. We had a visit from 25 or 30 students from the Boorowa St Joseph Public School, and a couple of teachers, and they had a tour around the building and the chambers and asked questions about council, and they'd been working on federal government levels and state government levels at school, finding out all about it, and they're up to the local government level. So I basically told them we were the four cousins of the next two levels. That was very enjoyable, and the Director of Corporate and Community and the General Manager here, it was great. So other than that, so could I have someone to move, or any questions on that report? If not, I'll move the report. Second by Councillor Davis, sorry. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes us to councillors' reports, and to receive and note the correspondence of a mover. Thank you, Councillor Davis. Okay, so we'll start at the start, so I'll know where we're up to. Councillor Dodd this time will come around. So, any to add or speak on, Councillor Dodd?
Thank you, Mayor Ingram. Nothing further to add than what's in the agenda. However, I would just like to have a quick note about the 2025 Local Roads Congress that was held at New South Wales Parliament House. And the key purpose, one of the key purposes, is to inform the advocacy focus and the key priorities of the Roads and Transport Directorate over the next 12 months to all levels of government. And I think it's critical that local government has a voice in this area. The State Minister for Roads and Regional Transport, the Honourable Jenny Atchison, was there. She's been listening to local government. Across New South Wales, she visited Hilltops earlier this year, and she spoke at the recent Country Mayors meeting in Orange, which was focused on roads and traffic. Just 3 points. Firstly, funding, always funding. The need for more funding generally, more stable, predictable funding model, that council has more autonomy over where the money is spent, and the need for targeted bridges and causeways funding still. Also, the Roads Act is under review, and hopefully that will include more autonomy for councils around road classifications and uses. And lastly, the need for councils to consider their asset management in connection with the long-term financial plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dodd. Councillor Langford.
Nothing to add, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo.
Just one to add, I've left out the financial workshop on the 11th of June.
Thank you. We added. Councillor Blackball.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just to add, on the 17th of June, the Young Medicare Mental Health Centre Open Day.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
Nothing to add. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mackie.
I do need to adjust that because I had the Land Care meeting, the Wolf Fest meeting on the same night. I thought I'd get to the Warfest meeting, but I didn't because my land care meeting went too long. So just to delete that.
No. Thank you, councillor. Councillor Davis.
As minuted,
Thank
please.
you. Councillor Foreman.
As minuted, thank you.
Thank you, councillor. So to move in a seconder. Councillor Flannery. I get to Zoom.
Yes, thank you. I attended the rail trail meeting as per whatever date Councillor Blackwell's got in. The council financial improvement workshop. I had a kite festival meeting on. I can't remember if that was late May or early June. I attended that. A Gaylong Progress Association meeting last Thursday, so that would have been the 19th. Gaylong VPA, the Gaylong Mine VPA on the Monday the 23rd, and then the General Manager's review.
Thank you, councillor. We don't know if it's our end or his end that's going to be. Thank you, councillor Flannery. So all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. The next item is the Community Recognition Scheme, and I have one to put forward, and it's a lengthy one, so I won't read it all, but I nominate Ray Christensen, who's been our Heritage Advisor, and he has served the Hilltops community over 16 years as Council's Heritage Advisor, providing advice and guidance on the diverse and rich cultural heritage across the Hilltops local government area. Ray was Heritage Advisor for the former Young Shire since 2009 and the former Harden Shire since June 2014, and since May 2016, Ray has been Hilltops Council Heritage Advisor. Ray's warm, personal and pragmatic approach to heritage conservation has led to a positive and fruitful rapport between Council and the community. Ray has provided countless pieces of advice on conservation and management of historic heritage with positive outcomes for the landowners, community organisations and the council. I'll just duck down the bottom now where Ray is stepping aside from his role as Heritage Advisor at the end of the financial year as he winds down his working career. Hilltops Council acknowledge and thank Ray for his service, dedication and care to the Hilltops community through his role as Heritage Advisor. We also have a nomination from Councillor Blackwell, who's nominated Burrawa Landcare. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am nominating Burrawa Landcare for their most recent and previous Burrawa to Bridges to Burrawa planting events, which they held annually with North Sydney Council Bush Care, which was held at the end of last month. This year was their 26th annual year of doing this, and they planted over 2,500 native plants across a 3-day weekend. Many of these plants also are locally grown, ensuring their sustainability and also ensuring, local economic development. It's an annual event supported by land care groups here and in North Sydney, as well as Hilltops Council and many other parts of the Burrawa community. It's a wonderful contribution to Burrawa and to Hilltops. It forges friendships and connections between the city and the country, and it has had a really long-lasting impact on the local environment and the town. And of course, this year they had a special guest, Costa Georgiadis from Gardening Australia, who came out and joined the team in Burrawa. Just to finish off my comment, the council congratulates Burrawa Landcare on this and previous successful Bridges to Burrawa events, and thanks them for their hard work caring for our local environment and community for so many years.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. So I moved those, and Councillor Blackwell, you're happy to second those two? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. I'll make sure that the correspondence is sent on. Item 12.1 is the General Manager's report and the executive meetings attended. Receive and note the executive staff report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Douglas, second. It was Councillor Dodd. Thank you. All those in favour? And look, I don't know. Well, we're on this matter now, and I voted on it, so I can't talk. I should have mentioned it before, but I think I'll review about this being in the business paper. I can't see the sense to it. Financial improvement strategy is item 12.2, unless I've jumped the page. No, I haven't. And the report is there, and the recommendation is receive the information and endorse the updated financial improvement strategy program plan, phase 2 and attachment 1. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved Councillor Foreman, seconded Councillor Blackwell. Do you have any questions in regard to the matter, or someone wants to speak for or against? Councillor Douglas.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. One question I did have was under the financial improvement strategy, it does look at additional revenue stream, and one of those is charging for A-frames on council footpaths. But we've recently just adopted the Hilltops activity approval policy, which doesn't include that anymore. So there seems to be a little bit of one's in, one's out.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's an incredibly good pickup, Councillor Douglas. That was a historical record that was from the earlier project plan and which should have been omitted. So we can just tidy that up in the drafting afterwards. It doesn't materially impact upon the work that's being done because you're indeed correct. We no longer charge for A-frame, sandwich boards or the like.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions in regard to the matter? Then I'll put it. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 12.3, cash, investment and unrestricted cash report. Received the statement of cash and investments as of 31 May 2025. Mr. Mover, Councillor Blackwell. Seconder, Councillor Dodd. Thank you. Have any questions in regard to this item? Councillor Flannery.
Oh, look, I don't have a question. I just like to note, I guess, in light of other councils less than favourable financial predicament, that we do have very limited unrestricted cash, and I'd like to congratulate all involved for the position we're currently in, and there's still a lot of work to be done.
Thank you, councillor, and your sentiments ring very true. Other questions in regard to that report? I'll put it. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 12.4, outstanding rates and charges and sundry debtors report, and the recommendation receive and note the report. From Mover, Councillor Blackwell. Seconder, Councillor Mackie. Thank you. Any questions in regard to this report?
Yes, just a quick one from me.
Councillor.
Have the water restrictors been put on yet? I know it was a topic of discussion last month.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Can you all hear me? Yeah. So the flow restrictor letters were hand delivered yesterday and today to those 15 properties. The flow restrictors are due to be installed next Thursday, the 3rd. So, yes, they're ready to go.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any further questions in regard to that report? I'll put that matter then. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We go to 12.5, the draft Hilltops Customer Service Charter. The recommendation is to approve the draft Customer Service Charter, place on exhibition, 28 days. NB, the normal, no submissions received. Rescind the Hilltops Customer Service Policy and adopt the Hilltops Customer Service Charter at the completion of the 28-day exhibition period. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Douglas, thank you. Councillor Davis, seconded. Any questions in regard to this item, councillors? No, I'll put this matter. All in favour? Thank you, councillors. 12.6, again, is the draft Hilltops Managing Unreasonable Conduct by Complainants Policy. Got it. And the recommendation is approve the draft complaints management policy to be placed on public exhibition for 28 days. And B is the same if there are no submissions received and adopt. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Blackwell, seconded. Councillor Langford, thank you.
Question.
Sorry, hold, what happened? Sorry?
The resolution actually
Question.
has draft complaints management, not the unreasonable conduct of whatever it is, complainants.
Yeah, we apologise for that.
No wonder I got it easy the second time.
Yeah. So it is managing the unreasonable conduct.
So
by
on that,
complainants.
all that good works we're talking about gets wiped out in one blow. This needs to be proofread a bit better. Thank you, Councillor Dodd, for picking that up. Okay. So aside from that, do we have any? Councillor Flannery.
Surely, I mean, I did complain about this the last time it came through. I would have thought council staff either hang up or, I mean, you either just don't tolerate bad behaviour and people have either got a reasonable complaint and you deal with it, or you hang up or you report them. I would have thought they're the three processes.
So, through Mr. Mayor, I'm going to respond to that because it comes to me through the director and staff. This is the mechanism where I send a letter, basically banning people, and this is OLG approved, how to manage unreasonable complainants. Yes, you would expect people to be reasonable, but some people are not reasonable. And basically, this is a dictate that they can still contact council, but they can only write to me because they're abusive to staff and abusive to me, and they need to write. This is the mechanism that has been endorsed by the OLG for us to deal with the wholly unreasonable people. But everything that you said, yes, staff do that. Staff do say it won't be tolerated and hang up, but people speed dial back. So I fully encourage councillors to allow this to be put on exhibition, and this is the tool which I have used probably in 5 years on 4 occasions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. On that note, all those in favour? And sorry, is anyone else would like to speak for or against, or any questions I should have asked? Everyone the opportunity? No, okay. All those for? It's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. I've just proofread the next item, councillor, which is 12.7 draft Hilltops Council Complaints Management Policy. And the recommendation is that council approve the draft Complaints Management Policy to be placed on public extradition for 28 days, and B being the same. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Foreman, thank you. Councillor Blackwell, seconded. Do I have any questions or queries in regard to this policy? If not, all those in favour of adopting. Unanimous, thank you. 12.8 Alternative arrangements to proposed Hilltops Aboriginal Liaison Committee. A report to their councillors and the recommendation A is to note the alternate arrangements. Note that council will conduct regular formal partnership meetings with the young local Aboriginal Land Council on a quarterly basis. Note that council will refer to the Honour Wal Yas Local Aboriginal Land Council and Cara Local Aboriginal Land Council as appropriate, and advise the Aboriginal Land Councils in writing of these arrangements. Another mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Blackwell, second to Councillor Foreman, thank you. Any questions in regard to this item? I'll put that. All those in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. I go to 12.9, alcohol-free zone suspension for the Burrawa Irish Woolfest for 2025. Reports there, councillors, and the recommendation is we approve those. The mover and a seconder, Councillor Langford, Councillor Foreman seconded. Any queries in regard to it? All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 12.10, Rye Park Wind Farm Community Enhancement Fund. And the recommendation, councillors, is that we receive and note the report and endorse the recommendation of the Rye Park Wind Farm Community Enhancement Fund Committee for the distribution of funds for the 24-25 period under the voluntary planning agreement. So we're after a mover. Blackwell moves. Second to Councillor Mackie. Thank you. Councillors, any question? Councillor Flannery.
Sorry, do you mind?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
I attend.
Just hold, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Blackwell moved it. Councillor Blackwell, do you want to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank the committee members for their hard work and dedication, working alongside myself, council staff, and the wind farm representative. It was a tough challenge to winnow down several dozen applications into the ones that we could fund. But we feel that we've struck the right balance here. And again, just to thank the committee members for their involvement, and of course, thanking everyone for putting in an application. They were all well deserving, but not everyone obviously can get funding. But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Look, I attended the very first meeting, and my memory of the actual writing of the VPA was that 20% is to go to education, which would mean that there should be $32,000 allocated to that. And I do remember saying at the time that'll be a pretty difficult process, because it'd be hard to allocate 32,000, not impossible, but to Rye Park students alone, if that was the intent of it. So I'm just wondering whether that has been amended, or am I incorrect in that? And then also noting that there's a Boorowa Central School is receiving 6,700, and then the Touch Carnival is receiving 4,700, so that's another 10,000, so that'll take up to 26,000, which starts to get nearer the mark. Do those two amounts go into the to that sort of overall basket? It might be a question for Councillor Blackwell.
Through the Mayor, Councillor Flannery, in the VPA, it states that the 20% is allocated to education, and monies not expended through the local education assistance in any given year shall be transferred back to the Community Enhancement Fund general pool. It says for the following year, so I'm not sure.
I can speak to some of the specific items. So the Central School, item number 1, obviously is educational focused. Item number 7, which is actually for the Country Education Foundation through the Rye Park Progress Association, is also an education expense. And a fair chunk of the Hilltops Youth Action Group money also is educational, because they are running barista courses and first aid courses, which the committee deemed to be educational in nature. And there was one other that has escaped me there, but I believe we did get very close to $32,000 in education, mostly from the scholarships, but also through the Central School and the Youth Action Group.
Thank you for that, Councillor.
Well, probably my follow-up comment would be, as we all know, the Touch and Netball Carnival has received funding, which is very good. I just would hope that, well, without knowing what their application was, I would have thought ensuring that their requirements are met would exceed, as you've noted, the Youth Action Group and the 3D printer. I just want to make sure that we're not going to have a brawl on our hands down the track.
Thanks, Councillor. And just from past history, from what I've seen, I don't know whether $4,700 is going to cover the carnival traffic control, but time will tell. Anyone else have any queries in regard to that report?
If it's not, Councillor Mayor Ingram, do we want to defer this and get feedback, or are we happy to pass it as is?
Councillor, that's a question for councillors to think about that. I would just hope...
Without knowing what the application quantum was, I just want to make sure that we get the allocation.
While we have the right of say as councillors to pass and rubber stamp the allocations given there, we also have the authority to ask for them to be explained. Councillor Blackwell's explained pretty well a couple of them. I do understand your point, because when I saw the 4,700 for traffic control, I've been aware that it's a lot more than that. So
I can explain that one as well, if you like, Mr. Mayor.
There you go.
The Touch Netball Carnival also received funding from the Bendigo Bank and the Bango Wind Farm Fund, so they didn't need the full amount for traffic control from Rye Park.
Thank you
they asked for a smaller amount.
That's all. Thank you very much, Councillor Flannery. There we go. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. On that note, any other questions in regard to it? If not, all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 12.11, transfer of a Crown Road to council control, Kelly's Road, Young. The recommendation is that we authorise the General Manager to request to the Minister administrating the Crown Act 2016 to transfer the whole of Kelly's Road between Pitchstone Road and Berkeley's Road, Young, to council. Then authorise the General Manager to sign necessary report. There's in front of you, councillors. Pretty straightforward, I think. Any movers? Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Douglas, thank you. Have any questions? The report sort of covers it off pretty well, I thought. All those in favour? Unanimous, councillors. 12.12, draft Kurawatha Village Plan for public exhibition. A report there is councillors, and the recommendation is that council endorse the draft Kurawatha Village Plan 2025 for public exhibition for 28 days in accordance with the Hilltops Community Participation Plan. And if no submissions are received during the exhibition period for the draft, delegate the General Manager to adopt the plan. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Dodd, seconded Councillor Mackie. Thank you very much. Any questions in regard to this report? Councillor Dodd.
I'd just like to make a comment. I noticed that there is at the end of the report, there is a link that goes to a page on the council website, which basically talks about all the village plans, and I think that's a really good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for that. Any other comments, Councillor Blackwell?
Yeah, I just want to thank Jamie and his team for all their hard work in putting this together, and to thank the people of Kurawatha for participating in the process. It's really good to see.
Yeah, bundle of thanks. Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Any other comments or questions in regard to the report? I'll put the matter. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 12.13 is the Hilltops Heritage Strategy 2025 to 2028. And the recommendation for council is to endorse the Hilltops Heritage Strategy 25 to 28 for public exhibition for 28 days in accordance with the Hilltops Community Participation Plan. And if no submission is received. Moved, Councillor Flannery, thank you. Saves me talking. Thank you. I've been waiting all night. Councillor Foreman, thank you. Oh dear. All right, took a while, but we got there. Any questions in regard to that report, councillors? I'll put them. Councillor Flannery.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to propose one or two minor amendments to on page 6 of the Heritage Study. So, and it's 2.1, subject to the General Manager's thoughts and the Director of Corporate. I think the words, where it's got actions, under A and B, it should be to review and implement where appropriate. It currently reads, implement the recommendations of the Hilltops Heritage Study, including updating of the heritage databases. And then B has got implement the findings of the Aboriginal Heritage Study covering the entire Hilltops area. Surely we should be reviewing them first and then implementing them.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, both those documents are reasonably recent documents. They're still very much live, and we're nowhere near through completing them. But you're correct, Councillor Flannery, that there's definitely a time and place where we need to review and update them, but we're not there yet.
So we don't need to have review and update, or as you say, well, we certainly haven't finished the Aboriginal Heritage Study, but surely we don't implement them without our review.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, indeed, but we have on the Hilltops Heritage Study that has been adopted by council and it's in midstream in terms of its implementation. When it comes to the Aboriginal Heritage Study, that is going to come forward to you in its final form once we worked with the Young Lauk. And at that point in time for this policy, it would be about implementing that policy once you've adopted it.
From what I'm hearing here,
okay, thank you.
From both sides, yeah, and it could have been reviewed, but if we review, we've got to go through the process again. So we've been assured that it will be reviewed before it's implemented. That's what I'm hearing from the director. So on that point, unless someone else has got a question or in regards to the matter, I'll put that report. All those in favour? Unanimous. 12.14, post-exhibition Hilltops Development Control Plan for adoption, and I'm quite pleased this report's in the paper. Otherwise, councillors, we would have had a real little paper. I was going to digress, but we had the students in this morning, and one of the students said, I said, no, there's nearly 500 pages in this report we're doing council meeting tonight. Sometimes we have really big ones, 1,000 odd pages. And the fellow put his hand up and said, how big are those business papers? And I just held this one up and said, put another one beside it. And he looked at me and laughed. It was funny. 12.14, post-exhibition Hilltops Development Control Plan for adoption. The recommendation, council, is there in front of you. I don't know what happened to A. We've got B, C and D. Proven to adopt the Hilltops Development Control Plan. General Manager, that's correct. A's just been left out. We go with B, C and D. Okay, thank you. So I have a mover and a moved, Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Gallo, thank you. So, firstly, Councillor Foreman, would you like to speak to it or questions or?
Well, I would just like to make a comment and I've sat on the development steering committee for last term of council with other councillors and this one, and it was held always professional. We chewed the fat, shall I say. The reference, the practitioner group was also brought on board, so the community had a say, which is always good in the fields of the people that do it every day as their job. So that was really, really important. So I think this document has come back with a lot of hard work behind it, and thank you. And I think it will go a long way for council to meet their statement of expectations orders with the new planning arrangements and the timeframe. So I think it's a great document. Thank you. Thank you to the team.
Thank you, Councillor Foreman, and well said. Anyone else got any questions in regard to the document? If not, I'll put the matter. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. There goes a big chunk there. 12.15, Development Applications Statistics for May 2025. And the recommendation is receive and note the reports. Moved, Councillor Gallo, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Blackwell. Any questions or in regard to that report?
Yeah, I'd just like to
Councillor-
speak on it.
Councillor Gallo, yeah.
I'd just like to thank the director and his team for the improved turnaround time in approving the DAs. Thank you.
And yeah, again, well said, councillor. And well, I've been sceptical about some of these things with the changes. Yeah, the numbers don't lie, and things are getting better. So very pleasing for everyone. I'll give the planning department a pat on the back because they don't get too many. 12.16, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. 12.16 is the Capital Works report.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour? Got excited thinking about it, see? I did say it was unusual, didn't I?
Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me, councillors, and thank you, Mr. General Manager. That's what I knew you were here for. Save me. Save me.
That's not tonight.
12.16 is the Capital Works report. So we're after moving a second to start with. Councillor Blackwell moved it. Councillor Dodd seconded. Thank you. Would you like to speak to Councillor Blackwell? Any questions around the table? All good, all fine. Questions? In that case, I'll put the matter. All those in favour? Unanimous again, councillors. Thank you. 12.17 is the Operational Works report. A recommendation, receive and note the information provided. Mover, Councillor Blackwell, Councillor Foreman seconded. Any questions or queries in regard to this report? Councillor.
I've got a few.
Councillor Flannery then. We'll go with
A
Councillor
few
Flannery, then
questions.
Councillor Douglas. Floor's yours, councillor.
Sorry, look, I'm just following up on flood damage to locally referred to Mrs. Hardy's Park, which Candace's Park, it used to be Mrs. Hardy's house was there, it was knocked down. Look, it's been in a state of disrepair since the floods in February, and Coddington Park as well. And I also asked at the last meeting if the General Manager and Director could inspect the Neil Street and look at the dying shrubs along the or the hedges. And I'm just wondering, did an inspection occur? But an update on Candace's Park and Coddington Park on the flood repair, because there still hasn't been any work occur or remedial work.
Thank you, councillor. To the director.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, councillor, for your questions. Coddington Park, we're currently replacing the softball and the mulch in the garden areas, and we expect to open that top part of the park next week, so that people will have access to the seating area and the play equipment. We'll then move on to other areas. The lower part of Coddington Park isn't able to be reopened until the fishway is repaired, which requires specialist contractors to come in. and that's not likely to occur until next month. However, we'll move on to Kansas Park following some other work that the open spaces team is working on in the storm damage area, which includes erosion at the Harden Cemetery and some other repair work being done at the Dugong Park. In relation to the shrubs in the Harden CBD, yes, the general manager and myself have inspected that area. I've also spoken to some local business owners in that area, and we understand that a large part of that observed deterioration in the shrubs there is due to the pigeon problem. So we're working on addressing the pigeons as well as inspecting and repairing the irrigation in the CBD. And Councillor, to your previous inquiry about a maintenance schedule for the Harden Murrumburra area, you'll find that's included in this operational works report. It's not a usual item, but that's the sensible place to put it this time.
Thank you. Councillor
Okay,
Flannery.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Douglas, some questions.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to, a few things. The unsealed road maintenance, so I live along Allendale Road. The quality of the maintenance is pretty poor at the moment. I just wanted to highlight that, yeah, my road is in very bad repair. Whether anyone else's, I'm not quite sure. But I do notice once it's been graded, within a week it's back to its normal condition, which is poor. Harden seem to have a problems with pigeons, and we keep bringing it up. Are we able to get a report on something to move forward on how we're going to implement strategies to remove or manage the pigeons?
Yes, I'm happy to bring that report to council. We've been looking at the management measures that have been in place previously and that we have in place now, and also the ways that other councils have dealt with similar bird problems. So it's partly management of the public domain part, which is the formal gardens in the main street and the palm trees, but there's also a component that has to be undertaken with property owners because the birds will also roost in buildings if they're able to. So from the infrastructure point of view, council can do so much, but there may be a component of the strategy that needs to involve the property owners in the area.
And also, a lot of it seems to be copy and pasted each month over. Because I did notice Harden Cemetery had maintenance done, but there's been reports that it's still some of it's in disrepair. So I just wanted to ensure that it's, when it is copy and pasted over, because a lot of it is probably regular work that's done every month, that it's actually accurate and is happening.
Thank you. Yes, and that is the case, that it is routine maintenance that occurs every month. It's up to councillors whether that's useful to you or not.
I do find it useful, but as long as it is actually happening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, councillor. And to that point, as you mentioned about the Harden Cemetery, when it was brought to my attention in regard to that matter, I spoke to the general manager within the next hour, and a conversation with the general manager and the director, it was agreed that an inspection would be taken and that's the wrong word, make sure we prioritise work in sensitive areas, let's put it that way. And as we all know, our cemeteries are a very sensitive area and need to have the utmost attention and be prioritised. So I thank the general manager and the director for taking that on board. Any other questions or queries in regard to this report, councillors? Oh, okay. I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Flannery. 12.18. Media releases and Office of Local Government Circulars. Councillor's recommendation there to get a mover. Councillor Foreman, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Davis. Thank you. Any questions in regard to that? If not, I'll put that item. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. 12.19 is the action summary report. On the recommendation, note the status of the report. Again, Councillor Blackwell, seconded Councillor Davis again. You're on the roll now. Thank you, councillors. Any questions in regard to that item? Councillor Flannery.
Yes, a while ago I asked about possible or potential heavy vehicle routes that got traffic from Olympic Way and from the Marengo Road, I guess, for one better way of putting it, down to the rapidly developing young industrial estate. And I'm just wondering, has any work been done on that?
The director's just coming to the microphone.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we have been working on, I believe Councillor Flannery is referring to the action item in there about a heavy vehicle bypass. We have been working through that. There's been some historical work that we've been working through. And yes, we will be providing a report.
Okay, so sorry, Councillor Flannery, wait, go. Floor's yours.
Well, I mean, the use of the term bypass can be taken in different ways. Certainly, I'd like to bypass the schools and the business centre because it's heavy vehicles. I mean, you get to the roundabout there near KFC and B doubles. You know, they're either stuck there internally and holding up 30 by virtue of the weight of their truck. They're trying to get through the roundabout. Then they hold up 20 other cars. So yes, I'd like to see trucks bypass the business district, but we need to be careful because as soon as you use that term, others think of it as a land grab for surrounding areas of town. So, yep, I'd like to. It relates to the Garibaldi Gully when we are looking at bridge crossings, and that was where my question came about.
Thank you, Councillor, and yeah, you said basically what I was going to comment on. When you use that word, it opens up a whole corridor of conversations that people start having, and at times puts unnecessary concerns into people when you start talking about those types of things. So thank you for that. Any other questions in regard to that report? Put the report. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Takes me to item 13, questions with notice, which is nil. Item 14, notice of motion, and we have 14.1. We have a motion from Councillor Blackwell in regard to proposed social infrastructure fund. The motion, councillors, is there in front of you. Reads, for all future sales of council-owned land building assets, 10% of any proceeds are to be placed in a separate fund for investment in social infrastructure. And dot point A is there. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Foreman, thank you. Moved by Councillor Blackwell. Floor yours, Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There's some background and summary there, and I'll kind of give a brief talk about it, but happy to take any questions afterwards as well. As we undertake asset recycling, obviously, the Mayor's motion earlier this evening that the money goes back to the communities from which the land assets were sold is important, but I think it's also important that we take some of that money from land and building asset sales to put towards social infrastructure. This motion seeks to earmark about 10%, or exactly 10% of the money made from land and building asset sales to place into a fund for such purposes. Things like libraries, parks, museums, and there's a definition there from our Hilltops Community Strategic Plan, which we endorsed at the last meeting, that defines what social infrastructure is. These things are often seen as less important than some other aspects of what we fund, and rightly so. They're not roads, they're not bridges, they're not water and sewer, but they are still things the community sees and interacts with, and is an important part of their community life with council. So setting aside a small fraction of the money we make from land asset sales and building asset sales to go towards that, I think is an important decision for us to take. often also, these things are harder to get grants for than, say, other more vital infrastructure. So being able to set aside some money for that, I think, is really important. It's something that's good for the community, I think good for us as council and councillors to show that we're doing. And I welcome your support and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackwell. Would anyone like to speak against matter? Oh, Councillor Flannery.
Look, I'm speaking against it because I don't, because I want to have something to say. I don't necessarily support it, but I don't strongly disagree with it. I think council, certainly during my time, and I think Councillor Ingram's time on Young Council and Hilltops, has actually got quite a proud record of investing in social infrastructure. We invested in the Hilltops Library. We borrowed $1 million for that, and we also gave our share of community contributions. So we borrowed $1 million and put that, and I think we further invested another 1.6 million. I've forgotten the exact amount, which would go far beyond any asset recycling that we have done so far. When I look at Harden, we've invested strongly in street upgrades and streetscapes. Dog park for young already. We've quarantined money for a dog park or a dog play area in Harden. We've got an upgrade of the Murrumbula Creek. So I actually think as a council, we've got a pretty proud record of investing in community and cultural activities. We've got the playground or the park equipment down adjacent to the young pool. We've got the young pool, Jugeong pool. I don't think we could have done it much better, to be honest, and I don't think we need an allocation of 10% of proceeds, but I do agree with the sentiment of it.
Thank you, Councillor. I have no dramas with the notice of motion at all. I'm a bit like Councillor Flannery. I'm happy to support it. I just believe that it unnecessary, complicates matters. By saying you want to have 10% allocated to those particular funds, you just precluded 90%, the other 90% of the money. I believe those decisions need to be made by the council of the day, on the day. We haven't got a lot of assets to sell, but when they are sold, it will be up to the council on the day to make the decision where those funds are spent, and they'll prioritise them. They may well go and say, well, there's 10% and there's 90% to do this, or they might say we want 100% to do this, and then there would have to be another resolution of council on the books to override the 10% resolution that's there. So while I'm not against it, I just can't see the need for it, is probably the way I'd put it, because I believe that the council of the day, when it comes to them, will be the people making those decisions. And it may not be this council. It may be the next council. So making in this motion, and it's made in all good faith, and I understand that, and I haven't got a problem with it, I just think it's unnecessary, but that's mine. Would anyone else like to comment in regard to it?
Just through you,
Councillor Mackie.
Ms Mayor, is it fair to say that we're in a bit of a climate for asset recycling? So this sort of money won't come around that often. Like, we're doing a bit of a clean out of our assets that we don't need, would you say? So perhaps this is like not a typical time, perhaps, for this extra money, like this icing on the cake money to come in.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, look, obviously the decision's yours on how money gets allocated, and obviously, as the Mayor said, and as you have already done, you will decide where the money goes. So this gives a clear, it gives a signal in relation to the quarantine for the purposes that the council has set, and it separates the money, and that's it. In relation to the time of the process, the asset recycling was born out of financial sustainability that happened in my report in October 2021. Fast forward to November to 2023, where the financial improvement strategy was, which sanctified it. So we're going through, and certainly it's in the financial improvement strategy that you approved earlier tonight. It's a willing but not anxious seller to recycle the assets. Once, again, any assets that are to be sold will come before you. And then once they are sold, then it's the purpose through the allocation. You will then decide how that money is spent. So whether it's a time or not, it's not a burden upon us. We're just doing it in a methodical manner.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions in regard, Councillor?
Yeah, just
Douglas.
one question through you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a wonderful idea, but I just have concerns about how it's implemented, who decides who gets what, and is it put out to the community? Is it just councillors that decide what money is spent and when is it spent?
Thank you, Councillor. I can answer that one for you. It'll be council funds when the asset is sold, and it will be the council of the day who decides where it goes. Community input, as always, they see needs to make us aware of their needs. That will come to council, and the council of the day will make the decision where the money goes. Thank you. Any Councillor Flannery, you got a question, or you've spoke once, so if you...
Look, it's a question for Councillor Blackwell, and I'm suggesting, well, I like Councillor Ingram, or Mayor Ingram, sorry. I can understand where it's coming from, and this would have to be I guess it would be an internally restricted fund, and therefore it's always open for council to remove that internal restriction if we were to put money aside. My question is to Councillor Blackwell, would it be worth just withdrawing this so we can perhaps run it through a workshop and just get a bit more flavour as to what you're thinking? Because I like Mayor Ingram, I think we've done a lot, and I just don't want it to mean that we can't get a grant because we've got funds restricted for social infrastructure when we're needing to do something else. I can see the intent, but I just think there's unintended consequences.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. I'll go back to Councillor Blackwell now for his right of reply.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Flannery and Mayor Ingham and Councillor Douglas and Mackie for speaking. I think I'm not willing to withdraw the motion at this time. I think it stands fairly well on its own merits. I think 10% is not a huge amount of a percentage. I think, to Mayor Ingram's comment, I do see the potential that it could lock us into a smaller amount that we might like to contribute. If he'd be willing to accept a change to say at least 10% into the motion, that might avail him of any concerns. But I think it is a smaller amount. Obviously, we can spend more. I'm happy to make that change to signify that we can place more in there. But again, as the GM has said, it is only an internal restriction. We can decide later if we want to play around with that.
And your point's valid, Councillor. As I said, it'll be up to the council of the day. I don't think you need to muck around with your notice of motion. We all understand it. And it's just it'll be the council on the day. And if they want to change things around, there'll be another resolution put on the table that day. So on that note, I'll put Councillor Blackwell's notice of motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, Councillor. And councils. Pause. I jump the page? No, I haven't. Item 15.1, could I have... Item 15.1, exclusion of the press and public. And there's a heap of statutory provisions I could read there if you like, Mr. General Manager, but I would ask that someone move and second that we move into closed council. Councillor Dodd and Councillor Douglas, thank you.
Sorry, I put you off.
Got me once, and all those in favour. Got me once tonight. You're not going to be twice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In confidential, councillors resolved that for 15.2-25/190 award of contract RFT 36 plan and equipment hire panel, council resolved to A, receive and note the report on RFT 36 plan and hire panel, and B, unconditionally award contract RFT plan and hire panel to the relevant organisations. C, conditionally award the contract to the named suppliers pending submissions of relevant information. D, delegate authority to the General Manager to execute all necessary documentation associated with the awarding of this contract and expend funds as required within current budgets. And E, delegate authority to the General Manager to execute the optional 12-month extension periods. Council also resolved in confidential at 15.3-25/191- General Manager's Annual Review of Performance 2024/2025 and General Manager's Performance Agreement 2025/2026. Resolved to A, endorse the General Manager's Performance Review 2024/25. B, acknowledges the value achievements made by the General Manager during the review period. And C, endorse the attached General Manager's Performance Agreement for 25/26. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. And just before I close off the meeting, I'd just like, on behalf of Council and myself, to pass on our thanks for the ongoing work that's been undertaken by yourself and a couple of changes in your performance agreement for next 25/26 that we look forward to no doubt you will achieve. It's been commented about some things that have been put in place now and dates have been put with them, which is appreciated by all. We appreciate the hard work that's been done in the last period, and well, that's good. We always know there's room for improvement, and we strive to keep the same level and the same trajectory going up all the time. So it's much appreciated by all. And the other comment I would make to the General Manager and the Executive is the comments with councillors in regard to the Executive around you and how strong they are at the moment, continuing, and we look forward to that being ongoing for some time yet. So thank you from behalf of all of us. On that note, I'll call tonight's meeting closed, and thank you all councillors.
Thank you, councillors.